Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Today's Friday, January 22nd. S&P 500 sold off 40 points overnight, but buyers came back before the open at 38.15, and we had a 25-point rally, but failed to get to 38.50, the Soji number. Didn't participate today. And for the rest of the day, we had a 20 points range. And we closed down about 12 points after the last minute sell-off. Nasdaq also had a mostly an eventful day and was down 0.25%. Russell 2000, on the other hand, had a nice and strong rally the whole day and managed to close a 1% deficit to close up 1%. On the political front, there was some press conference that Biden has given and said that there is nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months, which begs the question, why does he insist that we wear masks if there's nothing we can do? But, who am I to question the logic of Biden? As I mentioned yesterday, with herd immunity and with World Health Organization changing the rules for the PCR test to reduce the number of cycles to under 20, it's no surprise that today many states and localities came out and said that there is a drop in cases pretty much across various places in the country. Number of cases are going down and hospitalizations are going down, almost like magic after Biden has become president. And meanwhile, Democrats have realized, as I suspected, that it's not so easy for them to pass the stimulus package. And so instead of giving that to people, they decided to give people a circus. Chuck Schumer said that there will be a full impeachment trial in Senate. So instead of doing something to help their constituencies, they basically decided to entertain them by dragging the impeachment of a president who's no longer president for God knows how many weeks or months. And on the digital gold front, like people lovingly call Bitcoin these days, it has rebounded from the lows of 29 to about 33, as people think the correction is over and a fresh pool of buyers coming in. They're not afraid of any regulation threats from Europe or from US by Yellen. So Bitcoin so far is being bought. The pullback is being bought. Anyway, Victor, what do you think of today's market action?
Yesterday's narrow range set it up. I mentioned that the purpose of markets, in part, is to separate the weak from the undercapitalized from their funds by forcing them out. By yesterday's 10-point range the whole evening for the European markets, and then a total of 20 points. Everybody was accustomed and acclimatized to buying it whenever it was down 10 or up 10. When we spoke last night, the market hit 37.48. So it came within 2 points of the Soji number. Then when it came down to 37.40, it was very tempting to buy it. And sure enough, it went down another 40 points from there.
Right.
And anyone who was undercapitalized, anyone who was used to buying the dips would have had a margin call, and they would have lost their money to the bigs. So the market and its infrastructure worked very well in making the undercapitalized contribute more. And then it gradually worked its way up, getting within 4 points of the Soji number. It was was very similar to last Friday. Last Friday was down and this Friday was down. But then in the last minute, it dropped 15 points. So it's setting the market up for some more malarkey and more moves of a transitory nature. But we've got, yesterday with all its travail was a new high, a new all-time high in the S&P. It was only up by 1 or 2 points, but that was about 4 new highs in a row. So today it dropped 0.5% from the new high. And in general, the market is ready for a fall. It's ready for a decline. I think this was a fair warning. The next time it drops big overnight, it probably won't come back. The market was very duplicit in pretending that it was going to be like last Friday, where it got down 500 points. But here it was only down 30 S&P points at the minimum. And to me, the market is responding to the president's unity message. There's so much hypocrisy in that message that the market thought it would try a little hypocrisy itself. In addition to his call for unity, there was a lot of calling out of white racism and capitalism and pseudoscience of those who don't believe in climate change. So a lot of times the market learns from the politics, thinks of a way, sometimes it learns from the sports games. It always thinks of a way to relieve the poor from their wealth. So the question is, are there, as part of the hypocrisy, here is a post.
Wow.
It was burning all over in Seattle and Portland and Sacramento, and yet there was a comparison to 9/11 with the Capitol riots, but there's no condemnation of the rioting in those cities. Imagine what it would have been like if Trump had won. Imagine what kind of rampage there would have been. The progressives are still holding their fire, and I think that's a time bomb hanging over the market. That's about it. As you say, the COVID situation is getting much better. And, they're locking down one state after another. Now even the schools in New York are going to call it a day for direct learning. So in general, I don't know what the market will do on Monday. Sometimes there have been in exactly 60 years ago, I wrote an article called The Friday Down, Monday Down Effect. I found that when Friday was down, Monday was down about 75% of the time. Because that was 1966 and the market is always evolving. That phenomenon was sort of neutral for a while, but then in 1987, market was down on Friday about 2% and then went down 20% on Monday. So that was the Friday, Monday effect end all. Except the same thing happened in 1987, 1988, and to my cost in 2018. So you have to be very careful because on average, there's a tendency for Fridays down to nowadays to be followed by a slightly positive expectation on Monday, but there's always a chance of a very big move, I think, of 10 biggest moves since 87, probably 10 biggest down moves, probably 6 of them have occurred on a Monday. That's all I have to say. Have a good weekend.
Well, just to add a little bit, I think people are used to buying Mondays. Last couple of Mondays for the last multiple weeks, if we had a down Monday, this was the low for the week, and people are used to that kind of action. So like you're saying, maybe if the markets are duplicitous, they will eventually teach people who buy the Monday dip a lesson, but who knows when that may happen. And
well, that's the advantage of statistics. It's sort of
right.
If you have to test everything, but I noticed the Monday last week, of course, was way up. It was the start of a 3% rally. Previous week, it was down. It's very good to look at the corresponding days when you're trading.
Right.
Good rule is to go against the corresponding day, but that varies by day of the week, unfortunately, and it's always evolving. But I would be reluctant to think that we had a big down Friday. Of course, it was last Thursday. Friday was Martin Luther King Day, so there was a big down day before the weekend and then a tremendous up. So eventually all these small speculators who were undercapitalized and were playing with flimsy information they're against the big boys, and a lot of the I noticed that a lot of the bank's earnings are related to the special purpose vehicles they finance that with unlimited capital, and the Fed is quantitative easing eventually winds up in their trading portfolios. They've all had record profits.
But speaking of small speculators, today there was an interesting development with the GameStop stock. I'm not sure if you heard about it, GME. Citron, which is a research company, has tweeted, I think yesterday or the day before, I'm not sure, that the stock is going to 20. And there is this group on Reddit called Wall Street Bets. and they get really upset. I guess they were betting on the stock going up, and they get really upset with Citron, and they claim that Citron is basically producing their research, which is negative, then takes the position, publishes the research, and then hopes that the people follow the research, and Citron makes the money on the side of the people.
How much did it go down today?
Well, it actually went up. Citron posted a really negative report, but people didn't follow it this time and instead squeezed it out. The stock was up 75% on the session, to the high of the session, 75%, and closed up over 50% after it was halted.
What's it at now?
It's 67 after hours, last I checked. And it was $2.57 at the low of April. And it's now $67 and was as high as 70 something dollars, 73, I forgot. And anyway, it was up 75% for the day.
Well,
And
the reason that Bitcoin went down was because Chairwoman Yellen, who was
right.
not at Camp Kinsella at her Washington hearings, she mentioned that there's some criminal activity involved in Bitcoin, and English regulators said that anyone who buys Bitcoin should accept the possibility of losing all their money. But as Peter Thiel found out with PayPal, when you get a certain cadre, certain small group, and it becomes large enough, and they all have Bitcoin stock. I imagine there are some Democrats that have Bitcoin as well as libertarians, but it becomes very hard to stop something. There'd be too much protest. There'd be too many lost votes. So it was good to see Bitcoin come back from 29,000 to 33,400 today, and I think that I noticed there was a gold coin that sold for $8 million. It was the highest ever. So we're still there's still a lot of bullishness in the market, but sometime before the end of next 2 weeks, we should see a pullback. So I'd be very careful with unrestrained bullishness right now, although as to what will happen in the next 2 days, I don't know. Have a good weekend, Elena. It's been nice working with you. I hope we can gain some subscribers to keep our spirits going, because I think our take on the market is it's very different. It's very useful, and so many people could learn from it and profit by it. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
You too.